Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres, and you can follow me on Instagram at Ask Adam Torres. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Jessie Williams on the line, and she is managing partner over at jmWilliams. Jessie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, Jessie. So I'm excited to get into today's topic. We will talk about your background a little bit. We will obviously get into jmWilliams and all the great work that you're doing for small business owners and entrepreneurs out there. And maybe just to get us kicked off, let's start off with your background. So how did you get started really in business and on this path?
I always say this. I do feel that I just fell into this. I knew from a kid, I always wanted to do business, just never knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I just loved the whole business courses that we all took in, if you went to business school or took any business course. I love each one of them except for economics. So I just kind of love business management. I took an entrepreneurial business course as an elective and I was blown away. I loved it. So I always knew I wanted to do business, but never knew exactly what it is per se and what specifically. And as I struggled to pick a major, I had one of my uncles reach out to me and say, hey, pick something that always will be around. And, I said, well, what do you think? What do you have in mind? And obviously they named the old basic ones like lawyers, doctors. You're always going to need those. But I was like, that's not what I wanted to do. Maybe a lawyer, because you get to talk and argue, debate. That's where you think as a kid.
Yeah.
So I decided to pick accounting because I was good in math. And that was the biggest misconception ever. You don't have to be excellent in math to be an accountant. But I do like the fact that your numbers is the language of your business. And it really tells a story of how you're doing financially in your business. And the numbers really don't lie. It's a famous quote everyone uses. And it's something that I enjoyed during class. And as I went through public accounting, I always loved what I did. And not so much the environment. So then I said, I rather do this on my own, because I do get people ask me when I worked for public accounting, hey, do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do that? And I was just giving advice for free. And I was like, look, I think I'm going to do this full time and work for myself. And that's how it really started.
Wow, what an amazing story. And there's some would-be entrepreneurs out there, people that are a little bit, that maybe they're just getting out of college, or maybe they're a couple years out and they're thinking about maybe going that entrepreneurial route and thinking about it. What kind of advice would you give to people that are out there really just getting started?
If you're just getting started, I say the best thing to do is invest in the business, right, itself, because there's always a thing you go into business for, like a product or a service. And then there is a running of the business. And I think people need to really invest in that part of it, whether it's a coach or you take like a course online. I always think the coach is the best way. And as you become an entrepreneur, you grow and you grow as a person, and you're always seeking to improve yourself. And the best way to do that is getting a coach. I have a sales coach. I have a physical fitness. We all have a gym or trainer, right?
Yeah.
Then we have a health coach, because then there's the mental part of things that keep you balanced. So I have a coach for pretty much every aspect in my life that I'm not an expert in. Or even trainers have fitness trainers, they have coaches too. So I do think investing in yourself and getting a coach is one of the best ways to start your business. There's always going to be that part that you're not aware of, and just be hungry for knowledge. And the money is always a problem when you're starting, right? So I always say that read a book, take the time, because a lot of the times what someone could teach you is already out there. And you just gotta look for it. But sometimes you get a coach that package things nicely. You want just that feedback, just that person that want to say, yes, you're doing it right, you're doing it wrong, and this is why. Then yes, if you have the funds, definitely invest in it. And that's what I would say. Just know the business side of things is one of the biggest mistakes that people make. Like knowing just for simple what business structure I want to be in, or what does that really mean, is something that a lot of entrepreneurs really don't get too right most of the times.
So Jesse, I understand you work with business owners and entrepreneurs, among other people, and one of your big niches, real estate, as you mentioned. So why did you decide to go the entrepreneurial route and kind of leave public accounting?
One word, freedom. It's a little bit more freedom. Clearly I stay within the industry. I love what I did, love what I do. I didn't like the atmosphere so much. And I think the
Mm,
biggest mistake that my bosses allow me to do was to be more that point of contact with the client. So the
mm,
higher you move up, the more you get to talk to the client. So the more I realized that our clients are just regular people. We used to be so scared, like, oh, the client this and the client that. And they're just basic people. So when I got on the phone with them, I thoroughly enjoyed talking to the clients. And
mm,
what's weird that they used to always give us this idea that everyone hated talking to their clients. Like there's a stereotype. CPAs don't like talking to their clients. So I love that part of it. And I think that, with the again, the stereotypes in public accounting, it was all there. Long hours,
mm,
work-life balance was non-existent. Even having a diet, working out during tax time, all of that came to a halt. And I didn't want that to be my life. And I saw the people that I work with,
mhm,
they were in the healthiest conditions. And I'm talking about the people jobs that I wanted, they were always there on when they saw their wife and kids,
mm,
and sometimes people are just not pleasant during tax time, and
mhm,
and that was the norm. It was okay for them to not be pleasant. There's this saying that says sorry for what I said during tax time, and I think that is so ridiculous. People, they allow their emotions to fly over the place, and it wasn't a great atmosphere for me personally. I wanted to spend more time with my clients and really
mm,
have a one-on-one connection. And you know I just didn't want to have to deal with the corporate America
yeah.
part of things. You know what I mean? I wanted to do what I had to do, serve as a client, add value, and go home. That's what I wanted to do. And you can't do that. There's FaceTime. You have to be there physically. On Saturdays, you had to come in. If you
Mm,
didn't come in with everyone else, it was frowned upon, that type of thing. So it wasn't what everyone made it out to be.
mhm,
When the companies recruit you, they always say, yes, FaceTime, we support women in business, diversity, yada, yada, yada. It's all just a show. And it was never reflected in the companies that I worked in. They tried their best. I must say they did. But let's face it, when it's tax time, you got to be on your deathbed if you're not coming in. And I didn't
mm,
like that. And I like the fact that I could work remotely, and they never really cared for us to work remotely. They promoted it, but working remotely was always frowned upon, or you're lying if you're sick or something like that.
mm,
It was always working on eggshells. And I've always had my own book of business on the side because I always wanted a plan B. I always had a
right.
second job ever since I knew myself, because I never wanted one person to determine my finances. And I think that's where it came from for me. So I think when I got my first business client
Mhm,
and realized what I could charge this person and what I was charging this person, if I could get literally three more of him at the time,
yeah,
I would need my job.
yeah.
And then I think someone said something to me, nothing mean or anything like that. It just triggered something in me, and I just literally packed up and said, today's my last day.
Wow.
I literally went across the street, rented a WeWork office,
Ah.
and and that's how I started. And I was newlywed. I literally forgot I had a husband I had to, make this decision with. And so that kind of slipped my mind, but it worked out. I mean, 4 or 5 years in now, and it's the best decision I ever made. We're in COVID and we're having the best year ever.
Wow.
um yeah, I moved from my office. I'm home, and we didn't skip a beat. We were always designed to service people remotely. I had
Mhm.
an office mainly just to network and get to know other business owner, which paid off tremendously well. I still keep in touch with them. So yeah, that's why I left and how I left in a nutshell.
What an amazing story. You said I forgot I was newly married, so I should have run that decision by I was already in the WeWork across the street. That's a
Yeah.
great story. What kind of, I mean, you said the word freedom, and I guess one thing I throw out there is, there's some people watching this right now that are thinking about entering the accounting profession. They're younger, maybe just out of college, or maybe they're still in college. I mean,
Yeah,
what kind of advice would you give them on like different tracks or different like
yeah,
options that are available? Because you have a different vantage point. You obviously
yeah.
chose your track, but there's different ones, right?
Well, here's a traditional track, right? You go to public accounting and you want to go to the best top four, big four accounting, and that's your Deloitte, your PwC, Ernst and Young, and in no particular order, they're all great companies to work for because
Mhm.
you go anywhere else and that's on your resume, people will want you, and that's what happened for me. So I would say, it's very hard to give someone advice. And a lot of people always say, yeah, go do that first. And then some people say, well, I don't want to work in that environment. It's an experience. You learn a lot about yourself. I will do it again if I had to, knowing everything that I know right now, because it made me who I am. It made me stronger, and obviously if someone put an offer on the table for me to go back to public accounting, it was good. I would consider it. I really would. It would never be a no, never, ever going back. It was a great experience. I say it is good to get that experience.
Hmm.
I would advise anyone to go to public accounting. I would advise them. It's a great experience. The smaller companies are bigger, are better too. Are good too. I would say rather, like your Grant Thornton, your Mitchell and Titus is one of my favorites that I went to. Baker Tilly, they're here in New York City, and they're awesome place to work for. I love them to death. I worked for them, and any firm that really would give you the tools. You have to have a goal. What is your goal? And you can still figure it out. I didn't know what I wanted to do at 21. I was in grad school and I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And you figure it out along the way. You have time. You have your entire 20s to figure it out and mess it up. Just get that experience. Just focus on the knowledge. Be a sponge. Soak up everything you get. Even if you're working for an accounting professor, just soak up anything you can get. I do have I have a grad intern. She works for me. She would love to work for me when she graduates. If I could afford her, yes, I would. But I personally would want her to get that experience and see what it's like and then make a decision, because she knows what it's like working for an entrepreneur accounting
Hmm.
firm. She doesn't know what it's like to work in a big four. Maybe she might like it. There's certain personalities that does succeed in that environment, and she very well could be that. And but if it depends on what your goals are, really. I wanted to be a partner at PwC, and look how well that turned out. So
Well said as we enter that entrepreneurial route. I love it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and one thing that other people that have been on this show have said is that if at the end of the day that the business side of running the business is not for you, and you're more of the dreamer, or more of the go out there and create the product, and you're all
yes,
over the place, like maybe
mhm,
partner with somebody, but somebody has to do it. Like somebody
yeah,
has to do the numbers, somebody has to get it done.
right. Yeah, and that's why people hire CEOs and CFOs, and they just focus on the actual service or product.
And I think that's a great transition to getting into jmWilliams and what you're doing for your clients, because I know one of the things that you do work on is outsourced CFO services. So maybe tell us a little bit
Yeah.
more about that.
So the outsourced CFO services is really derived from bookkeeping.
Mm,
And obviously when I started, I said, I'm going to do bookkeeping and taxes, very
mm,
basic. And then I've noticed that clients always want more.
yeah.
Because if you break down the basic what bookkeeping is, someone is booking your numbers. There's a transaction, and we really, how should we put it? We put it in the language of accounting. So if you pay for a cab, that there's a debit and credit, there's an accounting language to that transaction. And
Hmm.
that is essentially what a bookkeeper is doing. And they're taking each transaction, they're categorizing it, and then it goes into and builds up to an income statement, financial statements, and so on and so forth. So with that said, they always had questions outside of the bookkeeping. And then you look at the costs, like my time that I'm spending versus what you've paid for didn't match up. And I would say to others that, look, you need a partner. You need someone that partners with you in the business, take care of everything financial, and you just focus on why you went into business. So that is where that CFO service really came from, really doing everything from top to bottom. I'm the accounting firm for your small business until you are ready to build that out, and then I take on a more higher level role. But, my CFO services is just really being there for that client financially and whatever they really need. And if they don't even know, I tell them what is it that I could do for them is really what we do. And it takes different forms and shapes. Someone who's already in business, then yes, they want someone talking to the banks, negotiating deals, making sure that this vendor is the right one to go to. And if you're just starting, well, hey, how should I track this? Should I use QuickBooks desktop or QuickBooks online? What bank is best? Like these little basic questions so it depends on what level it is. And you may not need a CFO, you might need a controller. So it kind of varies on the needs, but it's essentially just being that resource for the client.
So let's go a little bit further into your practice. So are there any particular types of niches or specialties that you work on versus others? Or, give us a feel for the overall expertise.
So for our business, we have two main lines. And it is, like we just discussed, the CFO services. We have the tax planning services, which is really looking, and the best way to describe this to someone is thinking of financial planning. We all pretty much have an idea what that means. Financial planning, we're looking at our financials, really doing an analysis and how we could lessen on expenses, save more, put away some debt, yada, yada. The same thing with taxes. We're looking at everything holistically, from your business down to your personal and even retirement, investing, coverage, all of that, to see, hey, if I do 1, 2, 3, 4 strategies, if I implement these 3 things, 2 things, 6 things, would that put me in a better tax position? Would I be able to pay less taxes legally, of course, based on these things that I implemented? And what would I do with these savings? So if I were to do a tax planning strategy, I would show you what your tax bill would be next year if you did nothing. And if you did these 3 things that I'm going to suggest, this is how much you would save. And what would you do with that cash that you would save? You probably reinvest into the business. You probably might be happier, you're less stressed. You may actually get a refund for the first time. So that is essentially what we would do. And apart from that, we do the tax planning, the tax returns as well. We also do work with CFOs and bookkeepers. So you never really got to fire your accountant if you love them. We just come in and take a look and we're out. If most of the times people love me, so they never really want me to leave. So, and then with that, now we have the coaching side of things where we do have these new entrepreneurs who need that help now, yesterday. So they might either choose to do a one-on-one with me, not to do it ongoing, because let's face it, we have all these softwares that could do bookkeeping for yourself, basically. You may not have a need for a CFO, you're just getting started, but you still lack some of the resources and knowledge that you would need to really succeed. So they will do maybe a course, a one-on-one with me. I call my VIP days. And we really just sit in and dive in on you personally. Everything that I give you is tailored for you. So it's not like you're sitting in a classroom with anyone or anything like that. And that's what really the coaching aspect of, or maybe advisory is, of my business that we do here. You mentioned niches, and make sure I mentioned that. My background is in real estate, not real estate per se, but private equity funds and hedge funds. And there always used to be some real estate somewhere there. So when I had to pick a niche, because my business coach said I had to, I picked real estate. And I picked real estate because the structure of things when you're investing in real estate is very similar. And the tax planning for me comes very easy for that, specifically in property management and developers. That is my sweet spot. That's my niche. I actually love them. I studied them. I've worked with them since I've been in business on my own. I have friends who are property management and developers, so I know where their headaches are. I know where their pet peeves are. I typically know what type of person they are. I know the industry well. I know how they work is very paper driven, and most of the stuff isn't automated. Is very old school. So I come in and I kind of shape things up and get stuff moving.
So Jessie, what makes your practice unique?
I make my practice unique. Actually, it's me. I always tell people that what I do is not rocket science. It's nothing special. I am not saving lives. Um, I'm giving you value. I'm giving you
Mm,
transformation. And you're getting me, my bubbly attitude, my personality, my, errors where I made mistakes. And the thing is, that's very unique is that I'm an entrepreneur.
mhm.
You have a small business. I have a small business. We all are pretty much in it together. And the part where you need help with, I'll figure that out. You know what I mean? I'm an expert in that part. So therefore, there's no really mistakes there that I've made, or I'm just improving in processes per
Mm,
se. So you have someone who understands what it's like to be an entrepreneur, who understands that, hey, I want to hire 3 people and the cash isn't there, but if I've hired them, it frees up my time to get more cash in the door.
yeah.
But some person would say, I wouldn't do that if I was wait for a cushion. But I say, what, go for it. You bet on yourself, because I understand
Mhm.
what that feels like. So they get that partner who really understands what it's like to be
Mhm.
an entrepreneur and take risks and bet on yourself, and know that if you make a mistake, hey, that's part of it too. So I'm not coming from a company where, and most CPAs and financial people are more conservative,
Yeah.
and being an entrepreneur, sometimes you got to take some risks, and I totally understand that. And I think that's what makes me unique in that sense. You totally get me, and I bring my full self. I show up in my authentic self.
Let's talk a little bit more about the coaching that you're doing, because I do think that is extremely unique for most practices, just in
Yeah,
general. I mean, how
yeah,
did you decide to even kind of go that coaching route, especially for the younger entrepreneurs? Because I feel like most don't like, that's a different skill set to be able to do
yeah.
that.
I first of all, when you're trying to find your calling in life,
Mm,
you try to match it with what is something that the world needs, or where is there a
mhm.
need, and where could that need meet or match your passion.
Yeah.
And for me, it's hard for me to say I'm passionate about tax and accounting. I think what I'm passionate about is teaching
Mm,
and taking what I've learned and helping someone else. Because obviously that has been done for me. Have I seek these things out? Yes, but sometimes if someone wasn't open and willing enough to really provide that, some I've paid for, some I
right.
haven't. So one of the best things that I've did was invest in a coach.
Mm,
My business would not be here today if it wasn't for this one particular coach. And I'm no longer with the program, but if I had to do it again, I would. And I've paid a lot of money for it, and it's the best investment I ever made in myself. And I said to myself, someone said, so why are you doing this part, like your accent? Because people may not have that continuous. You're starting a business, so you really want to be conservative with your expenses, and they may not
yeah.
have that fee for that CFO services, which could
Hmm.
range from 600 to 1,000, maybe even go up if you're a bigger company, $5,000 a month,
Yeah.
and they may not be able to afford that right away. And I personally don't advise that you do. So I said,
Hmm.
look, just invest in yourself, whether it's 1,000 or $2,000. Take that
Yeah.
investment, and you have access to me pretty much for life. So what I've designed is a 6 weeks program. I've
Hmm.
also designed a one-on-one day. I'm doing a workshop to show people what it's really going to be like coming up soon. And the 6 weeks program is if you want to take step by step and really take it in. You have all the materials forever. You're going to have access to me during the 6 weeks. We get to speak one-on-one every week, once a week. We put you in a group depending on how large your group is, so you can always
Hmm.
ask each other questions. So now you have like-minded people with you,
Hmm.
so someone who's doing the exact same thing and really who have the same attitude. We're here to help each other, because you do have friends who are entrepreneurs, but you're not sure if they're in the same page as you. So this is
Yeah.
what this program does, and that's literally what I have. I'm really giving back what I've gotten in a smaller scale. I can never do as great as he has, but I really think that model is really good. So, someone who really wants that transformation right now, like I want to take control of my numbers. I want
Mhm.
to take control of my finances. I want to be able to say, yes, this month I grossed 10K. A lot of people can't say that, and they run a business is because they don't know their numbers. You got to be one with the numbers. And that's what this course really is. This is what that coaching really is too. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm trying to get a nice little name for it. I'm sticking with Coach Through. So that's because I could coach you through pretty much anything that I've had a level of success in, anything that I think I've mastered on some small level, I could coach you through it. So that's what this financial and entrepreneur um, coaching is.
Man, that's awesome. I love it. And you're right. Your personality and what you're doing, like I won't even I'll call myself out here. I don't get as excited about the numbers as my business partner. Like that's his side of the deal. I mean, obviously I
Yeah.
understand them, but like I'm in front of the camera. I do a lot of the creative part of things, and his end,
Yeah.
he's on the other side of things. But I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, oh, I'm excited too. What is this course? Like this is good. You're right. Your personality, it's just
Yeah.
infectious. It's like I feel like you have the ability to make even entrepreneurs that aren't always excited about the numbers, like excited about them.
You know what? There's this stigma about accounting that is so hard, and it's
Mhm.
not. I say this all the time too. There's nothing special about me. I don't
Mhm.
have a dad that did accounting. I don't have a mom that I do not come from a family of, high level entrepreneurs. I'm from the islands, and my dad worked in a bookstore. I'm not even sure he finished high school. He worked in a bookstore for someone. His brother and his sister had some money. They pulled it together. He opened a bookstore in Grenada. He knew the business in and out. So in a nutshell, he was in control of his own job. I won't call him an
Mhm.
entrepreneur per se in a true sense of the word, but he was his own boss.
Mhm.
And I saw that around in my childhood. And people always have this thing that numbers are so hard to deal with.
Mhm.
But I always say when you start in a business and you started from humble beginnings, you have to wear all the hats
Yeah.
in that business. You got to be the salesperson, you got to be the accountant, you got to be the actual person who's doing the work, the marketing, and you have to know a little bit about everything because you're going to eventually source that out. So when it comes to accounting, all you got to do, what's coming in, what's coming out. It's simple
Yeah.
math. It's really not that hard. And to go back to getting exciting with the numbers, what I do in this program is I ask yourself, what do you want to make this year out of your business?
Mhm.
You tell me what that looks like. That is your number. Hey, Jesse, I want to make 200K. Okay, so 200K divided by 12, you know what it is for a month. What do you need to do in order to make that number per month? Do you need to get in front of people? How many people? The closing rate is, but let's say 20%. We want to
Mhm.
be conservative, say 50%. How many calls do I need to take so I can make my 50% closing rate? And
Mhm.
that is how you calculate your sales. A lot of people don't think about it like that. So you have to be intentional. I'm teaching you how to be intentional and very um, efficient in your time and how you go about your sales, because you can't just wish to make 200K. You got to implement
Mhm.
stuff and you got to go after it, so a part of program does that too. So how does your numbers really go hand in hand with your goals?
Mm.
you know
I love
yeah.
it. So Jesse, so what's next for jmWilliams? I mean, what's on the top, what's on the horizon?
What's on the horizon for Jesse to just be a paid speaker? That is my dream job. I wish I could just go out, speak to the people, shake hands, kiss babies, and come home and review stuff, and that'd be that. But we are just going. I don't want to say going where the wind blows, but I am. My job really is to solve problems for my
Yeah.
client. And recently, in the past 2-3 years, especially with everyone starting a business during this pandemic, everyone's starting an LLC.
Yeah.
So where I see I'm solving that problem is, okay, I started this LLC. Now what? I gotta file taxes. It's an so I tell people, you have an LLC, yes, but you really have a partnership. It's both of you. You're filing a partnership return. Oh, that's going to cost some money. This is not some little $200-300 tax return. We're talking about $1,000, and they
Mhm.
look at me like I'm crazy. Like, yeah, this is serious. Oh, I picked an S corp. Yeah, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. So that advice your friend gave you, they didn't give you the full story. So now you're stuck with this S corp, and you have all this responsibility that you didn't know about. So these are things that I wish people would kind of get a little, knowledge on before they
Hmm.
start anything. So that's really the direction we're going in. Um, Really just advisory, tax, and accounting. That's it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Jessie, I'll tell you, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. If somebody's watching this and
Mhm.
they want to learn more about jmWilliams, and they want to learn more about maybe the CFO services or the accounting, the tax prep, I mean, all those different services you offer. And
Yeah.
also, wait a minute, let me not forget the financial literacy courses you have in the
Yeah.
6-week program. I mean, you got a lot going on, put it that way.
I
I mean,
do.
how do people connect with you and your team? How do they follow up? How do they stay connected?
Well, we obviously our website is there, Um, so it's jmWilliams. My full name, I'll tell everyone, is Jessie Mary Williams. So it's basically my initials, jmWilliams, and the CPA, and that's the name of the company. You could find me that way through Facebook, Instagram, and I always tell people, get to know who you want to work with, and you can
Mm,
see a lot about me on my Instagram. It is business and personal at the same time. You get to learn a lot about me. I love to cook, I love to work out, and I like to do what I'm doing now. I've been bitten by the podcast bug too, so that you might see a little bit of that on there as well.
mhm,
So getting in touch with me is very easy. The only thing is, if you try to Google me, you'll get Jessie Williams as the actor,
mm.
Grey's Anatomy. But if you just put the CPA at the end, you'll find me. So it's jmwilliamscpa.com is our website. jmWilliams is our handle on Instagram and Facebook, and that is pretty much how you get in touch with me. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Jessie, really appreciate you again coming on the show. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot. If you did, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Definitely want you to be a return visitor and a return listener. And Jessie, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.